Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to The Key and another edition of Key by the Numbers. We got kind of a big weekend coming up, right? We're going to start our live in-person captain's classes. They start tomorrow in Rockland. I will be there. And then we have another class on Sunday the next day. And George will be at that one in Long Island. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all. We're studying for captain. I'll see you at Rockland on Saturday. I know George is looking forward to seeing you all on Sunday in Long Island. But for this week's Key by the Numbers, it's good for everybody, but no matter what supervisory civil service rank you're studying for, because it's a procedure that's commonly tested. It starts out as easy and then gets a little more convoluted as you go on. So we're talking about 218.23, and that is processing firearms and firearm-related evidence. And so you have a property clerk invoice, you have a voucher, you have a firearm. How do you list it, right? And they're talking about item numbers, item 1, item 2, item 3, and so forth. So the first 4 item numbers listed are very, very easy. Everyone gets those because you can say it like a beat, like it's a song, right? Gun, magazine, round from chamber, rounds from magazine. Gun, magazine, round from chamber, and rounds from magazine. And nobody gets that wrong. So let's look at the 5th one down, and that is a silencer. Whether or not the silencer is attached to the gun or it's in the perp's pocket, it gets its own item number on the voucher. It gets listed separately. Even if it's attached, it gets listed separately. If it's not attached, that's a little more easy to remember because you would list it separately anyway. So whether or not the silencer is attached, it gets its own item number and goes with the gun. Now, the next one is the most confusing because that has to do with firearm accessories. So holsters, a scope, a sling, and so forth. So when it comes to firearm accessories, if it's attached or if it's not attached, but it's required to make the gun fire, that gets its own item number and goes with the gun. Okay, we're going to get back to that in a minute. If it's not attached and it's not necessary to make the gun fire, it doesn't just get its own item number, it gets its own invoice. It goes on a separate property clerk invoice, and it goes to the property clerk, not the lab. And now, that sounds confusing, but if you think about it in context, it kind of makes perfect sense, right? If you have a holster or a sling or some kind of weird key, whatever the accessory is, if it's required to make the gun fire, then it makes sense that it would be its own item number on the invoice and go down with the gun. Otherwise, how are they going to test the gun? If you separate this widget or holster or sling or whatever it is, and you send the gun down separately from that, then when they test the firearm, it's not going to fire. It's going to be an inoperable gun. So they're saying if you get a holster, sling, key, anything, any accessory, if it's required to make the gun fire, it gets its own item number and then goes with the gun down to the lab. If it's a holster, sling, scope, whatever it is, if it's not required to make the gun fire, then it gets its own invoice and it goes to the property clerk's office. They don't need it at the lab. Okay, so that's kind of, when you explain it in that way, it kind of makes sense. So it's not that difficult to remember. Now, there are several other things listed here that get separate item numbers. I recommend that you go to the procedure and read 218.23 so you can get a look at all of them. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow on Saturday if you're studying for captain. But until we see you again next time, remember that preparation is the key. Have a good weekend, everyone.